Grandpa. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Yeah?
So Jolene has been with us. I mean, you started with your class of 7th graders. Like, you've seen them all the way through, and they are 11th graders right now?
Yeah, they're awesome, and they're 11th graders. Been with them since they were in 7th grade, yeah.
Wow. So which one is your favorite?
All of them. I'm awfully fond of all of them.
Wow, that's such a... Anyway, so give your guys your undivided attention to Jolene as she leads us through our topic tonight.
All right, I'm super excited, guys. As John said, the Awkward series is it's pretty fitting for me to be up here talking about awkward, because I kind of am. So there you go. If that isn't awkward right there in the middle, huh? That's me in 10th grade, me and all my hair. Total 80s girl, look at that. I know, looking good. I wanted to point out, as some of you might not know, Jessica, that just delivered the ladder for me, that's my little sister. So that's her up on the far left. And so I wanted to show you, just so y'all know, I'm way older than her. I'm actually 6 years older than her, and that's us on our birthday. She was born on my 6th birthday, so we actually share a birthday together. On the right is the rest of my family. Just a little bit of a background of my life. I grew up in a Christian home, went to church Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings, lots of church in my family. So. As you can see, she's just a little girl there. But my two brothers up there, one is 1 year older than me, and the other's 3 years older than me. And we talked about guy and girl friendships a few weeks ago in our Awkward series. And I actually had a lot of guy friends, like serious guy friends. They were just my buds because we always had guys in our house. All my friends were their friends, so we actually were able to have some good, healthy friendships. But also having all those guys around opened the door to actually be asked out a little bit more than I think I would have had I not been around a lot of guys just in a friendly manner. So when John asked me to talk today, I thought it was interesting that our topic was going to be breakups, because I actually have some things to say about breakups. In fact, it's probably one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about working with youth, is because honestly, I think a lot of the things that you guys go through, that you experience here in high school, junior high, I mean, the things that happen to you now are kind of shaping and forming how things are going to feel or be later on. So it's good to have these conversations now. I so wish I would have had a relationship series when I was your guys' age to actually hear some of this stuff. When I first asked my mom to send me some awkward pictures, the very first picture she sent me was that one in the middle. And there's actually even more awkward ones than that one, but I found it so interesting because I was in 10th grade. That was my 10th grade school picture. And to be honest with you, is this not working? Oh, my clicker. Thank you. Honestly, it was at that, do you guys all kind of have a point in your life, if you've been through any heartaches, if you've been through any breakups, and I don't just mean breakups with a guy or breakups with a girl, but something happened that you felt different. Some letdown, something happened right around this time in my life that really hurt me. That was very hurt. It's probably for a whole nother day, a whole nother topic, but I will say I was already at this point starting to question God's goodness. I was starting to question that he could even love me. I was starting to really question a lot of the things that I had been so firm in, so sure of. So when John actually asked me to talk about breakups, I realized I have a lot to say. So hang on. I'm going to ask you to kind of give me some feedback as I go through it. If I ask a question, I want you just to shout it out, okay? I don't have a lot of them, but so what I noticed right away, I did a little bit of research, and if you're out there going, I haven't had a dating relationship yet, you know what? You are actually the majority. The numbers really actually say somewhere between 60 to 75% of you have not been in a dating relationship yet. And I think that's awesome, honestly, that you're sitting here having this conversation, like you're going to hear some things that hopefully you can work through before you even get started. Because I kept trying to figure out how to talk to you about breakups, but every time I did, I kept coming back to my beginning, like before. And I think it's really smart. And so last week, if you were here, you heard Ryan and Allison share their story, and they actually started talking to you guys about your list. Allison said she had a list of what she wanted the guy to be like. So by show of hands, who has a list? I want this person to be like this, Okay, very few hands were up, okay, and that's okay. You might not have written it down yet, but you maybe are thinking it. I just want you to know, I dare to say that you all have a list, whether it's written down or not. You have a list. I did. I think it's because I maybe had 2 older brothers. I was just a no drama, nonsense kind of girl. I didn't like the drama. I just didn't. And so I think one thing that was on my list that I didn't even realize I had is I didn't want a lot of drama. So in my young days of 8th grade, this really cute guy named Jay asked me to be his girlfriend. And I remember thinking, ooh, he's a catch. I was like super excited about it. He was a nice guy. Everybody thought he was cute. And so I felt pretty special. I went ahead and said, sure, I'll be your girlfriend. And, we didn't have our license, so it was really just around school that we'd see each other. He was a year older than me. But we did have a junior high dance coming up, and I was super excited about that. So we'd been dating for maybe 6 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. And I went to the dance with him. And something really peculiar happened. About 6 songs in, just out of the clear blue, he pulls me to the side and he says, yeah, Jolene, I think we should break up. And I was like, excuse me? What happened, And I wanted to know why. And I'll be honest, guys, I am built as a peacemaker. I don't like fights. I don't like arguing. I want peace. I want reconciliation. I want us all to just get along. So I didn't freak out or anything, but I thought, why? And he didn't have a good reason. So I did what every good junior high girl does, is you march to the bathroom, and your tribe comes with you, and then we all kind of talked about it, and I don't even remember if I shed a tear or anything, but I do remember thinking, okay, and I had enough good friends around me to say, let's go to the bathroom, or let's go to the dance floor, and let's just dance. So we went, we danced, we had a good time. And then, strangest thing, about 3 songs to the end of the night, here comes Jay. Pulls me aside, and this is what he says. He says, I changed my mind. I really just have never seen you mad at me. You don't get jealous. You don't get upset about anything. I wanted to see if you really liked me and how you would act. So I was just kidding. I want to be back together. And thank God that I did have a little bit of a list, because at that moment I looked at Jay and said, I don't think so, Jay. I'm done. And so thank God I didn't waste any more time on that. But I had a list. It started somewhere. And we'll come back to Jay and why it was so important to actually have something. So back to the fact that not everybody raised their hands here, because I think you all have a list, whether you believe it or not. And this is why. This is what we do to you kids. All right, we sit you down in front of a TV by the time you're 2? And we throw Disney movies at you. You guys get to have all kinds of fun prince and princess movies. You get to watch shows. You get into your tween years. Nickelodeon's on. You're watching all those shows. You're seeing the awkward guy leaning up in the high school locker area and the girl that didn't get the guy. And all these things you're kind of formulating in your head what it's going to be like the day you start dating. And now let's just look at that big N over to the right. All the streaming devices you guys have. And what is it, everybody? Why does a really good show have to be seedy and there's some cheating and a little lying and a little dirt and then, oh, that's so sexy? And no, goodness, we are giving ourselves some expectations. Whether you realize it or not, they're there. And so right before you even start anything, I would highly suggest, and this goes for you that are on your first, you haven't even had a relationship yet, or maybe you are on number 10. I think you should do this before every person that you actually start to consider that maybe you might date. You should stop and say, what are my expectations? And just lay the groundwork. What are those things that I absolutely don't want? Even more so than the things you do want. That's probably even more important. So before, this is our awkward series, you need to have an awkward conversation with yourself. None of us really want to admit that we want to be a knight in shining armor that wants to have the girls fawning over him. I mean, what is that with Disney? All the girls fawning over the guys. And we don't really want to be that, do we, girls? So it's really smart to actually stop and ask yourself, what do I really believe this should look like? Okay? And break up with those expectations, man. You got to start from scratch and kind of really think it over. You guys have lots of time to do this, by the way. I was looking at some things. When I was in school, somebody had to literally walk up to me face to face and say, hey, do you want to go out on a date? I mean, like, the guys had to actually come out and seek you, or a girl, but that usually didn't happen. It was usually a guy had to come and have the gumption to face you face to face. Now, let's admit it, everyone. There's like 3 phases in your dating. Y'all have that stalking phase, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the creepy driving around stalking. I'm talking about, I'm going to go look at all that social media and see what this guy's like. Who's he liking? Who's he not liking? What's he like? And then you have the talking phase. Okay, I'm going to friend him. Let's see, I'm going to send him a message, and I'm going to send her a message. And then you have a chance to really talk some things out. And then you might get to the dating section. Like, now we might start to date. So, you guys have a lot of opportunity to vet the person that you might date. There's a lot of opportunity to see how do they behave, what do they say about other people, what are their comments out there. There's a lot of ways that you can go about figuring it out, okay? So we're going to reset. We're going to do that before it. I'm going to go back to Jay. I had Jess bring this ladder up because I like to think about this ladder with relationships, okay? Jay and I had been hanging out for, a month and a half or something like that. I liked him. And was my heart hurt when he broke up with me at that dance? Yeah, I would say it was bruised. I would say I got a little ding, probably more my pride than my heart, but it's kind of like I was on the bottom rung of this ladder. I didn't have too far to fall. I'd put up some protections, I had my expectations, and when he hurt me, I had my head on straight, and I was able to actually not get too dinged up, okay? So, now, one other thing I want to just point out, after that, about within a month, Jay started calling me at my house. And he started actually telling me that if I wouldn't date him again, now mind you, this was 8th and 9th grade, that he was going to hurt himself, that he was going to commit suicide. It started to get real serious, real fast. Talk about drama that I was trying to avoid. Could you imagine if I had stayed with him for 6 months and I was up here on this ladder, and all of a sudden we broke up, and his heart fell, and my heart fell, and we were busted, and this is all of a sudden now way deeper. And I just want to say right now, guys, if anybody is in that position in this room, that is not for you to carry. If somebody is telling you that they might hurt themselves because you broke up with them, or holding that over you for you to stay with them, that's actually a lot more common than you would think. And tell your leaders tonight, tell somebody here tonight, because we can find your friend, your ex, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever this person is, we can find them help. There's resources to help them. That is not for you to carry. I wasn't even going to talk about that, but whoever that was for, there you go. All right, so now let's say we know we've gotten past that stage and we really like this person now. We're going into this relationship now and we really like them. So we're somewhere in the middle. I have a guy that I dated when I was probably a little bit older than that. He was great. He was friends with my older brother, my middle brother. They played basketball together. Everybody loved him. My family liked him. I liked his family. We just had fun together. He was one of the guy friends that it ended up being one of my boyfriends. And I really liked the guy. He was just great. But it was crazy. I still had expectations. I still knew that I wanted to save myself until marriage for my husband someday. I still knew that I wanted to have boundaries and limitations with my boyfriend. It was the last day of school, and I'll never forget it. We were in the vehicle with my older brother. We were driving somewhere. We were going to drive home. We had like a 30-minute drive home, so we stopped. My brother got out to get some pop and get something inside the store. Last day of school. We're in the back. Just realized there's some really young ears in here. So we'll just say that all of a sudden, we went from like 0 to 50 in the matter of like 7 minutes that we were in the back seat of that car. And I thought, oh, okay, and it wasn't that he was being aggressive or I was, it just happened. And this is kind of what happens when you start to get further up this ladder and you have a lot more feelings and we didn't really talk about our expectations or our boundaries, but we started to get real deep. And I went home and thank God, it was the last day before summer break and I wasn't going to see him. We lived pretty far away, so we'd talk on the phone and stuff. And I just knew in my heart, the next time I saw him, it was going to be a lot harder to maintain my boundaries. I just knew. And I knew how young I was, and I was like, gosh, I really don't want to break up with him. Maybe someday we could be back together, but if this happened now, and then we break up, how many other guys am I going to have a relationship with after him? And my mind was all over the place, and I made a really difficult call. And now I'm really talking now about the middle, when you're right in the middle of that, and you know you have to break up. Everybody wants to talk about breakups and what they do to us, but we need to talk about breakups and what they do to the other person as well. This is when we have to have that awkward conversation with them, okay? I cared about this boy. I didn't want to hurt him. And even if that boy or girl wasn't the greatest to you and you would like to hurt him, you know what? That's not what God calls us to be. That's not who he calls us to be. You have to remember, when you have made the choice to date somebody, you have been given a piece of their heart. Hearts are fragile, and it is up to us to do well with it. Even when it's time to call it off, even when it's time to have a breakup, to do our best to do it gently and swiftly. Sometimes swiftly, where you just swiftly do it and you have to walk away and part your ways. Even if it hurts even more to be separated, sometimes that's what it takes to do the best and the right thing. What is the golden rule? Who learned the golden rule? What is it? Don't even look at the board, just say it. Yes, did you know that is not your grandma or your mother's? Treat other people how you want to be treated. That is not grandma's saying. That's not even your mom's saying. Those are the exact words of Jesus. That is where that comes from. So if you put yourself on the flip side and think about actually having the breakup happen to you, having somebody disappoint you and falling, this is where it starts to get more painful when you have a breakup. And we want to be generous to that other person and be careful with it as well. And that doesn't mean when you break up with them, it doesn't mean that you're not hurt either. You are as well. And our hearts can get a little dinged, maybe scratched up, maybe chipped up. Worse than if we were to fall down here where we've kept things much lighter. Okay? I do want to talk about the breakups because of the fact that only 40 to, well, whatever it is, 75% of you probably haven't had a breakup yet. I remember I told you that picture at the beginning where I was in 10th grade and I said something right here changed for me. I was not the same. It was like a point in my life where I can say something changed and I started to doubt things. And I started to doubt God's love. I started to doubt all of it. You know, that does not have to be a breakup with somebody. I'm telling you, that can be any disappointment that your heart gets broken or dinged or scratched or bruised or whatever. It could be any level of it. And that is anybody taking advantage of you, a parent that hasn't been able to love you what you deserve to be loved. It could be a divorce of your parents. It could be any part of you that you feel is just not the same since that thing happened to you. Okay, so I'm talking about with this breakup thing, I'm talking about hearts being hurt. And you all have something, more than likely, in this room, bullying, being manipulated by somebody, being told that you're less, being told you're not enough, being told that you need to change, whatever it might be. There's usually something in your life that has brought you to a point that you're second-guessing some things about yourself and often about God, especially by the time you hit your senior high years or your high school years. And so, you know, those things that play over and over in your head, those things is what I'm talking about. So that moves us on to the next part, which is really when we have a busted heart, the aftermath of a breakup or the aftermath of all those things in life that can really hurt us, that can really damage our heart in such a bigger way than a little bruise. I'm talking up here, where you're super vulnerable, you're believing the best from the person that you're with, be it a parent, be it a girlfriend, a boyfriend, be it a group of friends that have wronged you in some drastic way, whatever it can be. But when you fall hard and you fall fast, and it can just really shatter your heart. It can start to make you feel like, what's the point? It can really take you in some dark places. And I gotta say, this busted up heart thing is really what makes me want to be up here talking to you guys. Because by the time I was in 10th grade, I started a relationship with a boy that lasted almost a little over a year and a half. And because I was so lost in my walk with God too, I was looking for love. There's an old song that says, looking for love in all the wrong places. And guys and girls, I was just wanting to feel loved at that point. My heart was pretty banged up. I just wanted it to feel better. I wanted to be accepted. And I started dating this boy, and I was all in. I thought, oh, someday I'm probably going to marry him. I'm going to marry him. Then I'm going to make all these things, what do you call it? When I make bad choices, I'm going to make that all right because I'm going to marry him someday. And I put it in my head that that was going to be okay. But what I didn't expect is I didn't expect that relationship to go completely sour. It was a slow roll, but it was a very, very unhealthy relationship. I wasn't going to go here, but I am now. 33% of all high school relationships have some type of dating violence. Did you guys know that? 33%. 81% of parents have no idea that that is even a possibility. That doesn't even cross their mind. And the vast majority of those kids that ever have any type of dating violence against them do not ever tell anyone. The majority of them don't. Actually, I think it's like 20% even say a word to their friends. I didn't tell anybody what was going on with me, but I was a wreck. I eventually lost my friends because I didn't think they wanted to be around me. My self-esteem dropped to the floor. I didn't know who to trust. It was a mess. I was a mess. My heart went from here to there and literally felt like I was shattered, and I didn't know what to do. I look back now and I can thank God for some of the most painful moments of my life, but thank God he ended up cheating on me. And I found out, because it was a girl at my lunch table that I sat across from every day, and I didn't even get mad at her. I was that broken in such a place that I was just like, this is it. This is my way out. And I broke up with him. And I want to tell you, I did the breaking up in that situation, but the fall was so big that heart of mine was so ripped apart, I can't even begin to tell you. And you know what's really interesting about it is God, we want to think, okay, God, heal me. Now, I've told you before, there's probably something in your life, I said it earlier, that you can put your finger on that happened to you, something you experienced, something that made you lose confidence in who you are or what your purpose is, that made you afraid or insecure. But here's the deal, guys. We like to think of God as this God that heals us like a doctor. Here, let me put a Band-Aid on that. Let me put a cast on that pain. Bring this to me and I'll make you feel better. I'll put a little ointment on it and you'll be better. But I got to tell you, I swept up all of that pain and I put it in a vault and put it in my pocket and I acted like nothing was wrong. That was my coping mechanism. I didn't have anyone telling me that God could heal me. I was just putting it away. In fact, believe it or not, I was engaged to be married. Just 2 years later, I was engaged to be married to my wonderful husband of 26 years over there. We were married by the time I was 20. Some of you in this room are 18. Seriously, that is some serious fast forwarding. Do you think I got my healing before I got married? No, I didn't. And if you were to ask him, what was she like when you met her when she was 18? He'd probably say, oh, she was so confident. She was fun. She was independent, seriously independent. I didn't want to have anybody have any control over me. I was just out there ready to conquer the world. But inside, I was a mess. I was insecure. I had so many fears. I was still broken. I had never gotten forgiveness for the whole situation that I had with my relationship from high school. I did not take the time to stop and ask God for complete healing. And I think part of it too is because we think, like I said, he's just going to bandage us up a little bit. But I remember where I was. It took me 7 years, guys. And I remember where I was, and I was not a very nice husband or wife. I know he probably wouldn't say that, but I wasn't. I was an angry wife. And I remember the day that I just all of a sudden felt like God is like, give me everything. Because you know what, guys, I learned about God? He is not a God that is interested in healing little bits and pieces. He doesn't want to tape your heart back up. He doesn't want to like patch up some little wounds here and there. We are in love with a God who wants to give you a new heart. He's not in the business of taping you together. He's in the business of completely giving you a new heart. Starting all over, fresh starts, doesn't matter what, from the beginning, square one. He says, sweep up all those pieces and give them all to me. And you know what he does? He takes them, says thanks, and then he hands you a new heart. That doesn't necessarily mean that the sting and the pain goes away immediately, but the sting gets less. And the forgiveness starts to come in. And something happens in your heart where hope starts to grow. And I'm telling you, when you've been hurt and disappointed and you look at your future and you're like, I just don't see how I'm amount to anything, when pain is all you can feel or insecurity is all you sense, or you think, how could God forgive me, or whatever the thing is that you can put your finger on that we talked about earlier, God says, I want that, I want all of it, and in exchange, I will give you a new heart. Because see, it's super easy when things in life happen to us, whether we go through our parents getting divorced or bullying or just complete disappointment or devastation or whatever it might be in our life, we become a victim, don't we? We become a victim. And then, you know where Satan wants us? He wants us to sit right there with that little name tag, victim. He wants us right there. He's prowling around you day and night like a lion, looking to seek, steal, and destroy. Destroy and seek and destroy what? Your future. Your hope that you're going to have something good, that you cannot overcome what has happened. And Jesus is a God of victory. You can't, what does it take to be victorious? What always comes with victory, guys? A fight. A fight comes you have to have a fight in order to become victorious. So if you've experienced things, you don't just slap on the victim label. God says, no, hand it to me. I'm giving you new heart, and the label is victorious. You are an overcomer with him. He doesn't want you to believe the lies of Satan, that this is it, that that's it. You've been changed forever. You're never going to amount to anything. None of that. That is just a direct lie of the enemy, and he has so much more for each and every one of us. So, this is when we have the awkward conversation with God, the aftermath, the after the breakups, the after the disappointments, wherever you are. I know I'm like beyond just relationships right now, but in the end, many of us where we have the worst stings and pain in our life might not be the relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could be it's almost always in some relationship, whether it's people we know, friends, parents, whatever. But we have to have that awkward conversation with God. He's waiting. Do you need to ask him for forgiveness? Do you need to just say, hey, I've only given you these couple pieces of my heart? Or do you need to say, that's it. I'm done holding on to this baggage. I'm done holding on to this victim label. I'm done holding on to all these pieces of my heart. Take it all, God. And in exchange, take something new, because he's waiting for it. You can't bottle up brokenness, guys. You're going to have to deal with it sooner or later. I'm a perfect example of it. All the years that I held on to my unforgiveness and my anger, all those years, it came out just like a pop bottle that you shake. And I remember what I screamed to God when I finally gave it up. I screamed, I can't take it. And that's what he wants. He wants to take it, and he wants to exchange it for a new heart. The other thing I have up there is you have to understand, if you have gone through something that has just rocked your world, you have an opportunity. It sounds so crazy, but when you've gone through something that's rocked your world, God can talk. You can learn something about God on a deeper level than if you had not. And I know that doesn't sound like something you might not want to grab onto so much, but when you go through something, man, it's hard to grab a savior like Jesus if you don't ever feel like you need one. But when you know that you need that savior, when you know that you need that new heart, That's when you can have something new, something deeper, a whole new understanding of who he is, and it's beautiful when you have it. That's when you start to feel victorious despite. Some of you have seen this first verse, "For I know the plans for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." I don't care if you fell hard and had your heart smashed into a million pieces. He says right there, I have a future for each and every one of you. You have hope. My older brother, who's 3 years older than me, gave me this verse when I was, I think, 19. I was engaged to be married. He knew my history. He knew my hurts. And he gave me that verse, and I remembered like, oh my word, there's hope. I remember getting it, and it meant so much to me that it was actually the verse that we put on the cover of our little wedding flyer, whatever you call those things. But I really wish I would have known the next two verses. Maybe I wouldn't have waited 6 more years to get my healing. Because it says, "Then you will call on me and come to pray to me, and I will listen to you." There's some action that has to happen on our parts there. And even more so is verse 13, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me," all caps, "all of your heart." I'm telling you guys, I was making it through because I had been getting little pieces of my heart to Jesus. I was making it through because he was giving me little Band-Aids to like make me feel okay in the moment, because he's that good. He's going to do that. He's going to help you. But when I finally had enough and said, "Take all of my heart," that is when victory came. That is when I felt free from everything that I had experienced, the pain that I had carried, and I was finally free. He wants all of your heart. So is there one more song tonight, or who am I talking to? Yeah? So if the worship team wants to come on up here.